This is the meeting after the meeting. None of our participants get paid, and we don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. Enjoy the show. All right. Remember,
I know you said don't talk about the music, man. I know you said it.
What are you talking about?
Because it's getting old, the bit's getting old, but this is fucking unbelievable. What is this?
it's bluegrass.
What are you talking about?
Is this bluegrass, Gabe?
I don't know. This is music.
All right. Well, now let's see. Ooh,
Very folksy.
I'm liking this.
Yeah.
So before the episode, and I was like, why don't we just, I've been doing the shtick for the music for a while now. Why don't we skip it? And Gabe was like, that's going to be, before you got here, Chris, Gabe was like, that's going to be impossible tonight. There's no way Chris isn't going to want to talk about this music.
Yeah, how was your day?
My day was great.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful day. How about you?
It was good. Weather was beautiful. Got a few moments to kind of sit on the deck and
We've been very
take a little sun in.
Yeah, we've been very blessed today with good weather.
So
This past week.
yeah.
Gabe, how about you?
Yeah. I mean, I have no AC right now, so like I have
How
like
do
this.
you not have AC? I mean,
So I live in a condo, and so the building.
a condo where?
In Rockville, in Maryland.
They don't start it until a certain date.
And you have to.
That's pretty standard, I
that
guess, in a lot of places. Yeah, it is. They don't turn it on until like May 15th or something, right?
Yeah, it's either the AC's on or the heat's on. Like it switches in between, and right now we're still in heat, even though it's like I don't know who's turning on the heat.
Yeah.
At this point, but that's the
sounds
world
like
we
a
live in.
communist country.
Let's not get going.
That's what it sounds like to me.
A homeowners association can feel like that sometimes, Chris.
It's pretty standard.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
What about a window unit?
This is the meeting after the meeting. I'm John.
I'm Chris.
Welcome to the show. We are happy you are all with us again tonight. This is episode 10. I can't believe it's been 10 episodes.
Halfway through the season.
If you don't know, our seasons are going to be 20 episodes long, and then we're going to start over. We'll switch it up. We'll do... I think at that time we're going to switch up the background, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna have a
full
like
set
a real set
in the background, and maybe a different couple of different.
Maybe different.
We'll
graphic
change the sketch We'll change the sketch to a
segment.
A segment. Yeah, segment.
We can talk about that a little later, but
it's a touchy subject.
Worth talking about.
We've got a great show for you tonight. If you don't know, the meeting after the meeting is a podcast that's recorded weekly on Zoom. The episodes are put out on all major podcast platforms. The video is put out on our password protected link tree, which is what?
TMA Live.
TMA Live. All right. So we've got that. We've got an awesome guest tonight. We're excited to have her here. We've got a great topic we're going to talk about. We've got an awesome newcomer tip of the week and another great sketch of the week with some audience participation. For those of you who want to join in, similar to last week, we're going to have some audience participation.
This time we'll have it working right.
We'll have it working right.
Yeah.
Should be a lot of fun. We are excited. Let's introduce Gabe real quick. Gabe, what's up, man?
Nothing much has changed, but thank you for introducing me this week.
Yeah?
That felt good. It feels good to be seen.
Good.
In any context.
We appreciate you. Gabe as you guys know, Gabe does this for a free burrito every week. That's his pay.
Or a bowl.
Or a bowl, whatever he decides.
Is it a burrito?
It's a burrito or a bowl. Well, I got a bowl and a tortilla on the side, and I make my own burrito.
Which is kind of weird, but hey, do your own thing.
It's a hack.
Let's introduce our guest tonight.
Excited.
She came all the way from Alexandria, Virginia.
Is a hike.
If you're local, you know. If you're not local, you may have heard of our infamous DC traffic. I'm not sure if she hit any of it. We'll find out. Let's welcome Lili C.
Oh, yay. We got, okay, yes.
Oh, in
We
studio
have,
too.
We have live
All right.
applause.
We have a lot. That's the first
Live
week we
and
tried the
canned.
live applause too.
I mean, I deserve it.
yeah,
honestly.
you definitely do. For coming all the way from Alexandria at a minimum.
That
Yeah,
is
so
soul-crushing
I
traffic.
actually left my job in DC, drove home to Alexandria, and then here. It wasn't a good move.
So you caught both.
I caught as much traffic as
Yeah.
possible.
Now,
I just
do you ride?
love
Do you have to
hate
take
myself.
66 to get out of the city?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm good at a lot of things, directions, whatever. It's I'm not. It's
You
not
just
one of them.
punch it in a GPS and go.
Yes.
What
I
did you
just shut
do
my brain off.
pre-GPS?
That's a good question.
Okay, so I am of the
MapQuest?
the MapQuest era. Okay.
This was you.
Okay, just revealing my age already. So I used to listen
out.
up. I used to print out the MapQuest, but because I couldn't read the map, I would take
God.
a separate piece of printer paper.
Okay.
And then I would write like L for like left, obviously.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
on L on blah 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 street, R on blah 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 street, and then further because I couldn't just like reverse those directions
Yeah.
in my head, I'd turn it over and write out the reverse directions at home because I'm not that smart.
That's amazing. That's actually that is
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
smart to
that
be
seems
able to
like-
do that.
It's
Analog ways right there.
I mean, you know, I was
Low tech.
low tech
Yeah.
for sure.
But we were all in that camp.
Yeah.
I have vague memories of being a child and like flipping like, okay, G18, you have to flip like 6 pages ahead in the map. And
my
then
God.
this side of the map connects to this side.
My
You know what I'm talking
dad
about?
would get me a Thomas Guide map.
Yeah.
I'm from California, so there's this map called the Thomas Guide,
Okay.
right, for
Yeah.
LA, LA Orange County area, and he would get me one every year for my birthday, and then sit with me and make me like map things out. He would choose like a destination and force me to map it, and then yell at me every time I couldn't do it. So my childhood was great. Thank you for asking.
No wonder you're in AA.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we'll be getting into a little more of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Wow.
I mean, this did say it is important to interject funny, crazy, life-changing, or spiritual experiences into
Yes.
this
No,
we like
podcast.
that.
So the pressure's on. I mean, it's like
pressure-
you guys are both my father.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh no.
Oh no.
We're gonna be doing a map study course after
Yeah.
this, Lily. No?
I mean, I
my
feel like
God.
our segment or sketch, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it is a bit of a test.
Okay.
It is.
I'm ready.
We'll see how it goes. Why don't we start out by getting into some of the basic details? We call them the stats. So
Okay.
sobriety date, sponsor, home group.
Okay. My sobriety date is September 19th, 2005. I have a sponsor. Yeah, we're like twinsies.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we're
we're at the
twinsies.
same time.
Yeah. Wait, what's your
May 16th, 2005.
May. Okay.
So-
So you got like 6 months on me.
A little
cool
bit,
Guy. Cool
but
guy.
I'm believe me, you're probably way more advanced than I am.
I don't think so. I have a sponsor. Do I
Yeah.
say her name or whatever?
don't have to. You
Okay.
don't have to. It's fine.
I didn't ask her, so
Yeah.
I won't. She's in California. She sponsored me for the past 13 years.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I have a home group. It's Virginia Big Book in
Okay.
Virginia, in Vienna.
Is it in Vienna?
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
Tuesday-
I just
Tuesday
put it in the
nights.
map, so I don't really know.
Great meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
That
I
is
love
a
a book
very.
study.
That's a very. I've been out there a couple times, and it
Yeah.
is the You want to talk about the pressure being on?
Yeah,
that's where the pressure's on, sitting up there.
I actually love speaking at that meeting
Really?
because I'm like a real book nerd, and my home group has always been a book study.
Yeah.
And I love the book. And
That's great.
I get bored of like telling my story over and over, so I like it when people ask questions.
So if you don't know, Virginia Big Book is a meeting where the leader or speaker sits up front, and throughout the meeting, you're reading from the book, and people are just firing questions at you, like any question they can come up with, which can put you on the spot.
But
sometimes.
there's always someone in the audience that's trying to
Stump
trip you
the
up. I mean,
speaker.
and it's like, come on.
Oh, I love
man,
it.
you
Bring
know.
it on. You can't stop me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Actually, no one does that to me. I think because people are like largely intimidated.
They know.
You know?
Really?
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah. Just like no guy in AA has like ever shot a shot with me. ever, unless they're a newcomer, the newest of newcomers. They don't know,
And they have no
and they try
awareness.
at
They have
it.
no
You know,
social
they're
awareness.
Like, cool
Yeah.
tattoos, and I'm like, you have a sponsor? You know what I love? Sometimes I'll get like a Facebook message. Some like new guy finds
It's getting
me or
real
whatever.
already, John. It's getting real.
is
And he'll like shoot a shot,
Yeah.
and then I like 12-step him, you know.
Right
And then I'm
there.
like, "Did you have a sponsor? Like, how's that going?" And it's they
And
didn't.
he's like, you're not as cool as I thought.
Yeah,
you
they
were.
didn't know what they were getting into
like,
because once
God.
then they're stuck on the conversation with me. I'm like, how many meetings you going to? You know, are you all right? Like,
Never,
blah,
you know
blah,
what?
blah.
You're probably hoping never again will they'll be like, this is not the place to try
sure
to pick
won't.
up a girl
They
in
sure
AA.
won't.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So
No, I think they'll try again.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the 3 W's. This is where we kind of hear a little bit more about you and your story. Why don't you start out with what you were like?
okay. What I was like, I mean, a mess. Honestly, like I was kind of looking at your like prompts here, and I honestly, like, not to be a bummer, but like I don't really have a lot of fun or hilarious escapades because my drinking was terrible. It wasn't good, you know. It was really fun for like 2 months, you know. My drinking just took off from the get. I tell this story all the time, but I was like, my first drink was like prom night. My friends and her brother and all his hot older guy friends or whatever.
This is in California,
This is in
right?
California, yeah. We were like, they were having like a little backyard party, and I had my first drink, and I just felt like incredible. It definitely bridged the gap from like who I was to who I wanted to be. All the confidence that I lacked, all the funny stories, the jokes, the magnetism that I craved to have, like alcoholism gave that to me.
Yeah.
And so essentially, you know, at that party, I was the life of the party. You know, I was telling stories, I was making jokes, and everybody was transfixed. And that's all I really wanted.
Where
in
you
life.
normally weren't that person, or you were, but you felt uncomfortable doing it.
Both. Yeah.
Shot you to center stage.
Yes, for sure. And so from then on, I was a daily drinker, you know, because I just made a command decision that I wasn't going to live without alcohol because I was the superior version of myself.
Yeah.
So why would I ever like settle for anything less than that, you
like
know?
it. Yeah.
So I just kept drinking, and things went great for like 2 months. It was the best summer of my life, you know? Like I felt like I had unlocked like something in life, something that other people just don't know exists, you know? Like I was really walking around being like, people don't know about alcohol. Like, you know, but I was the one that didn't know because it was doing something for me that it doesn't do for other people.
And in fairness, you did unlock something. And
Yeah.
for the alcoholic, it is something that gets unlocked. And it obviously affects us differently.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, so essentially as a daily drinker, like things go downhill quickly as they did. And yeah, come enter the parade of, you know, rehabs and concerned parents and people who care about you. That
And how old were you?
That started at like, I started drinking just after like my 16th birthday. And then was basically starting the rehab train at 17.
Yeah.
So it was just a mess. Like, you know, I missed out. I kind of ruined my life, my opportunities, spent, you know, I was going to a performing arts high school, and what I really wanted was to be a professional ballet dancer. And my whole life was kind of going in that direction. It wasn't like a pipe dream. It was something that was in the works for me. And that door was closed like very, very quickly because, I mean, a dance career is very short anyways. And then when you enter in like crippling addiction, like it doesn't really help. You
It's
know?
not a good mix.
mess
Yeah. So
Drunk ballerina.
yeah, drunk
not a good
ballerina.
look.
Yeah, it's not the best look. It's not the best look. So yeah, I just lots of rehabs, lots of things. Like all the things happened, all the consequences that you could think of. You know, and I ended up living in my car in Orange County, and my mom had joined Al-Anon and started loving me with detachment and all that. You know, and my dad was honestly paralyzed by my illness, you know, like I don't really know to this day. Like I don't have a lot of window into like how he felt because he prefers never to discuss this time, you know? So, yeah. And so I was just living in my car and just, you know, I moved to Oakland. I had some vague idea that I was, you know, different place, geographic, blah, 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 all this. It just continued. Like the drinking continued.
Where, so you drank from 16 to
19.
To 19. And,
Yeah.
and when you were 19, what kind of, how would you say, give us a picture of what the worst of it looked like if you were going to look at a day? Because I always like to know, like, because mine was really just sad and depressing, and it sounds like yours might be too. What was like
also sad and depressing.
a bad, just normal day at the end? What did that look like?
The worst of it was, you know, at the end, I had no friends because I had, you know, used up everybody in my life. Living in my car, all my shit was in like trash bags. You can't just park anywhere. This is like one of these things where people don't think about until you're like living in the car. You can't just park your car anywhere overnight. So it's like I'd park somewhere and then like police would come and like knock on the window and be like,
especially Orange County.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. Orange County. It's not like I was at like Skid Row or anything. Not that would have been preferable or anything, but people were, you know, cops would knock on my window and be like, what are you doing here?
Totally.
It's hot. I'm like sweating because it's, you know, I'm sleeping in the car and everything. I would just sort of like sometimes I would go to this one girl's house who was kind of a mess too and like shower in her boyfriend's bathroom, whatever. And like he, like all his shampoo bottles were empty and like all his stuff. So it's like I would try to like wash my body or wash my hair and everything was empty.
Yeah.
It's just one of the, you know, it's just this little, it's just like one more thing, you know, like, and my parents, you know, were just really sad and like kind of done with me because I didn't know what to do, you know. And yeah, I just really, all I could do was drink, you know. My life was just empty. My life was just empty and I was an empty person. Yeah. And, you know, I think the worst of it was also I just had this like apathy where I couldn't even be sad about how my life had turned out because all the sadness was like dried up. You know, I had my days of like crying over what I had become. And then I just kind of was like, this is just what it is, I guess. Yeah. I guess I'm just gonna
slide
live this
into
way.
that dark acceptance.
It's like a level of acceptance where you just, this is my life and it's not going to be anything different. I'm just going to try to exist here.
Yes. Yeah. Like the bright future's long snuffed out and just this feeling of like, I don't really know. I'm not going to kill myself, but like when death comes, I won't be sad about it. I'll just cease to exist at one point and that will kind of be okay with me, you know? So that's like what the end looked like.
So what kind of happened? What was that? We like to say that jumping off place or your moment of clarity where maybe you realize you can't go on like this anymore or something was presented to you as an option to get out. Yeah,
it was the second one. I actually did not plan on getting sober. I knew AA existed because I'd been to rehab, obviously, and I liked AA, but I thought that it didn't work for me because I'd gone to a lot of meetings. I loved stories. I loved hearing like the dark stories, the whatever. I was like transfixed by this idea that people would get up there and just like say the wildest shit, you know? And I loved it. I loved the drunkalogs. But as soon as they turned to the like getting sober part, my eyes would just glaze over and I just zone out, you know, I just didn't care.
That's not for me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, I don't know about this, you know, but, so I went to AA. I went to this meeting just for really no reason other than like, I knew people would be nice to me. And I again, with the stories, I liked that. And there was no harm in me going to an AA meeting because
and this is still in California, right?
This is when I moved up to Oakland. This is probably about 6 months after the time I described. It was just more of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, the only thing I could do at the end was just sort of like restart the clock a little. Like when I moved to Oakland, I like found one like clinically Al-Anon man to like be friends with me. And I was like, used him up to like a point where he was even getting mad at me, whatever.
I like
And
that
then-
term. Is that
yeah.
a term?
Clinically.
Yeah.
Al-Anon.
Yeah.
Clinically
Yeah.
Al-Anon.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be man or woman.
Yeah,
go
it
either
could be
way.
anybody.
Yeah.
It could be anybody. Yeah.
I've had a few of those.
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't have any fear about going to AA or any, reticence about joining because I thought this doesn't work, but it's fun to be here. It's fun to be here. And so I went to this meeting and I sat there. I don't remember anything anybody said. It wasn't a white light experience, but I do feel that I had a spiritual experience in the meeting because I thought to myself, like, the one thing that I've never tried is doing the steps. It's like the only thing I haven't tried,
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
So
To people,
weird.
So many people in AA,
Yeah.
they stick around and you talk to them, or maybe you see them coming out and you're like, hey, have you ever done the steps? And they're like, no.
It
Why
is
would
an
I do-
epidemic.
why would I do the steps?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's the answer.
It does not
It does
seem like
not. I mean, it seems so counterintuitive
It
to
is
what
paradoxical to its core.
Yeah.
I think the problem with me is, and that's the problem. It's like what I think the problem with me is. I don't really understand alcoholism at that point.
Well, there's so many of these, I like to call them fires that are blazing in front of me
Right.
that
External.
revolve around money, freedom from jail, a jail, job, those things.
relationships.
So it's like when you're like, we're going to write out a
Dumpster fires.
inventory, a searching and fearless moral inventory. I'm like, that is not it. Can you lend me $100? Like that would be
or put away the chair, set up the meeting.
Yeah, help. Why don't we work on this bonanza weekend? Help us out and go on this weekend. I don't even have money to buy food today.
You want me to go where?
Yeah.
Do
Call
what?
3 women today.
There you
like,
go. Yeah.
oh my God,
How
are you
is
serious?
that going to solve? Do they have money to give me?
Yeah.
Do they have
A ride,
Yeah.
cigarettes.
Yeah. And also, as bad as it, maybe sounds or doesn't sound to people is at the end for me, like I was afraid of losing that. Like the idea, no matter how bad it got, the idea that I would lose alcohol was worse than anything else, I would have gladly kept going. If I had known that AA was going to get me sober, I would not have done it.
Yeah.
It was only because I didn't believe that it worked for me.
Yeah.
Because I would not have been willing.
If you knew,
If I knew, I'm telling you, because even so, even as bad as it was, bad as it had gotten, all these events that happened, all the things, all the bad things, all the, trauma and all this sort of stuff, that wasn't slowing me down. That was not going to stop me. There's no problem that can happen to me that alcohol cannot fix. And I was obsessed with the idea that if I could just, control my circumstances, then I could recapture the great days of the past.
Yep.
I wasn't interested in controlling my drinking, but I was very fixated on controlling everything else around my life to just make the ingredients work to where it could be like it used to be.
Yeah.
That was my great obsession. I was I wasn't ready to let that go.
It's always so funny how much effort we put into our drinking and then balk at minimal amounts of effort in AA.
Yeah.
The term "this is the easier, softer way" is appropriate, and it really is. I mean, especially nowadays. I mean, this is, man. I see these new guys really struggling, and I'm like, God, man. But for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be me.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't want any part of it.
So you found your way into AA
Yes.
through probably similar. I relate to just feeling lonely, and maybe it was just nice to be around some people who were at least pretending to like me. I don't know if they did or
Yes.
not, but
For sure.
like you. What was kind of the turning point from there to where you started to buy in?
So there was 2 parts to my buy-in. My initial buy-in was just that I did get a sponsor after that meeting, immediately after.
Which is crucial.
Yes, somewhere in my lizard brain, I knew that if I didn't do it, if I didn't ask, the first woman that I saw, that I would never do it, And so I didn't do any of this, pick someone that has what you want or 5 years or more sober, whatever. I just grabbed literally the first girl I saw.
Yeah.
And she was close to my age range. I wanted someone who was young. She was blonde. I was perfect. Love it. Great.
Why was that? Why is
I
that?
don't, I was 19. I was shallow. I was she's pretty. She's
Yeah.
blonde.
I
She's near
hear that
me.
a
She's
lot.
only a couple years older than me,
Yeah.
probably. And that was it. I mean, I was living in my car. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have big aspirations. I was like, I want a beautiful hot
really.
sponsor. I don't know.
I hear that a lot, and I think about that, I guess, and it's interesting.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, like,
we're very surface level at that point. Shallow. We don't have much to grab onto.
Lots of girls pick me for all kinds of strange reasons based on what their perception of my physical appearance is, right? And then they get a big surprise.
They're like, oh.
Then you start getting it, and they're like, whoa.
Not what I thought I was. You were telling me to read the big book.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, so my first buy-in was, I did ask this woman to be my sponsor, and I did call her, or somehow we were communicating. And I met with her at a coffee shop, like really soon after, like maybe the next day, maybe the day after. And again, I felt pretty relaxed, and we started doing the steps. Like, I'd meet her at her house every week. We'd go through the steps. And I thought this is kind of a nice, like, time waste activity for me, because eventually, like, I will drink again. I just know it will happen. But in the meantime, I might as well have something to do, and it doesn't hurt me to go to these meetings. And I had, when you're, like you said, when you're lonely, you have no job, you have no life, you have no nothing. I had nothing to do. The boredom is intense. Mm-hmm. So I was just going to these meetings and I was going to 2 to 3 meetings a day every day for my first year.
Yeah.
Like, not because I'm a good person or anything, or because, like, really for no other reason. I had no other way to spend my time.
You had a lot of free time.
So much free time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's that or hang out in your car.
Yeah.
Literally that. So I like lived at this like Alano club, really. Yeah. Like, I just went there all the time, and I did go after the meeting to, dinners and things, and I met with my sponsor, and I just didn't feel the need to drink. It's not that I didn't want to sometimes. I definitely did. But it never felt so urgent that I had to do it, or that it was out of my control, like that I was just going to.
Yeah.
And, and then some nights as things are really rough. It's like 3 a.m. My sleep schedule was trash, obviously, and I would think things like, well, if I really, really want to drink this bad, like tomorrow, then I will. I just totally will. And I would go to sleep, and I'd wake up the next morning, and it just wouldn't be as bad. So I'd say, well, okay, I guess I'll just stay sober another day,
Yeah.
And that proceeded through my first year. And then there was some buy-in. The buy-in started to come.
When did you end up moving out to this area?
In 2014. So I had 8 years sober.
So you had 8 years sober. What was that like, as we kind of wind down the 3W portion?
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that and how life has been since you moved out here. I'm sure it was a big change.
Yeah, actually it was like a complete godsend, me moving out, because at 8 years sober, between year like 6 and 8, something happened to me. And that was that all my friends who I had kind of my girl clan, my group, my tribe, whatever, who I had gotten sober with, and all my friends and peers and the unity portion of my triangle, every single one of them had left AA, and I was the only one left, this is something that happens. There's a lot of turnover, and there's fewer people as you stay sober longer.
Yeah.
And they all left, and I was the only one that remained, and I had not invested in new relationships throughout this time. I just was like very excited about the fact that I had female friends for the first time in my life. And I was sponsoring a bunch of women. Like, on the outside, my program looked fantastic. Like, I sponsored like a bajillion women. I was speaking at conferences. I was speaking like 3 times a week or so. Like, I mean, I was everywhere.
Yeah.
And going to meetings, and I was meeting with my sponsor, and really, solid on all that sort of stuff. But I didn't have a goddamn friend, not one. And I started to get strangled by my own reputation in AA, because everybody, and also because, like, I don't have time to even get into this, but like the culture of AA is different in different regions. And in California, being like a strong woman for the in the big book is like, that was like it was rare out there at that time. And so people like were like, oh, Lily's so strong in the book, and she's serious, and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was unwilling to be me or be anything other than what people expected me to be. And I was at the same time so fired up about AA and also so resentful at so many people in AA because they weren't doing it right, you know, because like I knew. And I was paralyzed by the thought that that if I didn't like bring the message to every meeting and like really pound on like the steps and the book and the thing, that some newcomer coming in wouldn't hear the message and they'd go out and drink and die. Right. And I'd squander someone's only opportunity to get sober. Like that's the level of seriousness that I was like carrying around with me all the time. So I would never go in and just say like, I'm struggling or anything. I couldn't be a human. So moving out here, it was like, honestly, like divinely inspired because I wasn't like doing so well internally back in California. And I honestly like wanted to drink just to kind of escape it all. And so I moved out here and just kind of got to be a person because in AA, a person in AA.
Not Lili, the speaker.
Yes. Like I just got to be a person, and people still like, you know, like, I have a good program, like whatever, like I fit in and all this sort of stuff. But, it really allowed me to just to be a member and not to be a somebody. And I learned the very important lesson that like, you know, the triangle needs to be balanced. And so today, like I'm always trying to invest in new relationships, keep the relationships that I have, of course, but there's always some room at the table. Like for me, you want to go to coffee with me? I want to go to coffee with you. Like, it doesn't matter if I don't know you. Like I am always trying to kind of refresh friendships and build more of a network rather than just have my, you know, my 3 close friends or whatever, you know, I mean, I do have them, but I'm open to more, you know?
Yeah. That's a great attitude. I mean, we could talk about that. It's tough. I mean, I know I struggle with that where we've got a couple of guys I hang with and opening up new relationships. It's like, I don't know if I have the time or take too long to get to know you. And I don't, you know, so that's great. With that being said, let's move on to our topic. Kind of relates into more sobriety. And this is something that comes from the 12 and 12 and the 12 steps. Says, furthermore, how shall we come to terms with seeming failure or success? Life doesn't stop happening when you get sober. And I think what this means to me is that after I got sober, I don't know why, as I talked about those fires, they were so clearly evident to me that, you know, I don't have a license. I'm going to go back to jail. Once those started to die down, this expectation that maybe my life was just going to be perfect and everything was going to be easy. And that's not been the case. You know, I've dealt with loss. I've dealt with problems with work, you know, we could talk for hours about relationships with women. For me, it's just been bad, you know, but Chris, why don't we start with you? What has been your experience with, you know, failure, success, and having to actually live?
You know, so the success, I related to Lili so much when she's talking about her days in California and getting on the speaker circuit and having that early. I mean, there was a time in AA, it's long since passed, which I'm happy with, that I was on that speaking circuit. I was getting invited to YPAs and flying me down and speaking at these conferences. And it left very little room for the newcomer to have a real authentic conversation because you're so, just like you said, you're so in that mode of like trying to deliver and it's not like I didn't want to, it's not like a nefarious reasons. You want to be a good AA and you want people to get something out of what you're saying, you know what I mean? And so, but I relate to that a lot. So that's an area where success in a lot of ways can turn on you, you know, in that way. And so that was, you know, but most of my experience is with failure, failure in relationships, failure with business. And I am, in all of those circumstances, I'm just really grateful that I've had a solid footing in AA because I've always leaned in. It's something people say around here, like in tough times, I've leaned into the experience that surrounds me in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I feel so grateful that I have those relationships, and I put some equity into those relationships where when I have hit tough times in my sobriety, I've been able to lean on those relationships in a major way, you know? And that's something as alcoholics, we have in great supply, and normal people don't have that. They've got a couple friends, maybe they had in college, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it goes on from the reading, which we don't have here, to talk about the use of the tools in AA, a higher power,
Sure,
and leaning in towards whatever that might be. And I think our higher power, you know, you mentioned friends, a lot of time talks to, you know, kind of is present through people in our lives and maybe their experience or something they share with me. So, you know, Lili, how about you? How does this look? What was your idea after you got sober? Did you think that everything was going to be perfect? Were you worried about the circumstances in your life?
I would not have admitted that I thought everything would be perfect, but I believed to my core that everything would be perfect. And I spent like a long time, like, listen, I know what the right answer is. So I'm going to say that because I care deeply about what you think. Right. So I spent like that first portion of my program doing like once I had that buy-in, you know, I was determined to do everything right. And once I discovered the steps, it was like the steps provided this framework for life. And I took that like in.
Yeah.
And so I discovered this thing where it's like, if I never make a mistake, I never have to make an amends again, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
right. So I just like checked every box, right? And I just did every possible thing, you know, and for a really long time in my sobriety, it really was a very causal relationship between like do good, get good, you know, and I just thought that I'd kind of discovered the hack to life, that if I just keep doing all the right things, that things would continue to just go well for me.
Yeah.
So here we go at year 10 of sobriety, right? And even though I was like, if I'm a good girl, like everything is like going to be good, deep within, I have a rebellious streak, right?
Yeah.
So year 10, I started to get kind of like antsy in my recovery. Not wanting to go drink, but just feeling like bored, you know, feeling like I'd checked all the boxes and I'd done all the things, you know, and I got in the big girl job and all this stuff. And then I was like, I just work 40 hours a week. Is this
what am I going to
like,
do?
and I get like 2 days off. Is this 52 weeks a year for the rest of my life? I was like, really?
Oh my God. Giving me a panic attack just thinking about it.
Yeah. I was like, how do people live like this? So I started, you know, I was married at the time, and, you know, I started making some, like a lot of decisions that were pretty unconventional, you know, and none were overtly harmful or anything. I just was like, you know what, like, why can't I have a little bit of adventure in life? Again, nothing really wrong with it, but I did a bunch of different things, and I moved to Hawaii, and almost immediately my marriage failed. And that was like a big thing for me at the time, because
you're in Hawaii.
I was in Hawaii.
Not a lot of
no one.
Yeah.
No one. Not a goddamn person, basically. Yeah. Like I went to a meeting. I went to like a week of meetings.
And you were on Maui, right?
I was on Maui,
which
yeah.
is, I mean, it's not even like Oahu. I mean, Maui is tough for meetings.
It's small, yeah. And I went to like meetings for like a week, and then like literally like week 2 or whatever, I was like, I'm getting divorced, guys. Like I didn't know anybody, no one. It was rough. But listen, like in that situation, like God provides. God provided this one girl that I connected with, and you know, I don't know, just the right people, you know, carried me through, and I still had my community back here or whatever. The point though is not even about like going through that, or, you know, AA showed up or anything like that. It's just the problem is always me, you know, and I felt so stupid. I felt so fucking dumb, you know, and I was so humiliated, and I was so embarrassed. And I just, that my ego.
Because you have to keep the perfect life. I have to show on the out. I can't have that happen to me.
Cannot. And also because like, because I had made all these decisions, kind of wild decisions, right? And people, of course, were supportive, but cautionary, right? Which is even worse, because then you have to come back, hat in hand, and be like, well, that didn't work out, oh, horrible. Yeah. So,
we've been there.
Yeah. And I went down like for a job, like my job was down and I hated the job and like absolutely everything about like this whole kind of cluster of decisions and just like kind of these big swings I was taking in life. Absolutely every single one failed. And it decimated my life. Like, it's not like I just came back and like everything was the same. Like, I got divorced, like we had pets, it got split up, like I moved back here, like I didn't have the house I was in anymore. I moved in with a friend. I lived out of a suitcase for 8 months because I just didn't know what to even do with the kind of shards that remained, And, but I came back to AA and just, sucked it up with my ego, and just came back and was like, listen, nobody's gonna wag their finger at me. Nobody's going to whatever. Like, people just want to support whatever. And so, and that was really, really freeing for me because it kind of just this entire kind of wholesale experience, like it really broke the shackles of like what I thought my life had to be for me to be happy. And when you sort of lose the thing that you wanted most in life, like suddenly you realize like there's freedom on the other side of this. Like you can just... It's like if you are not bound to this thing that you feel you must have, we all have it, right? For me at the time, it was, being married, whatever. For other people, it might be, job or like money, success, relationship, having a family, whatever. Like it's tough because when you try to tell people like these are all good goals, nothing wrong with any of these goals. Except that you are hell-bent on them,
It's the weight that they put, that you put in them.
Yes.
It's the priority that you lean on them.
Yes.
That makes them dangerous.
And the dependence that we put on reaching those goals or losing what we've already attained.
Yes.
I'll be better when.
Yeah. Or I'm only going to stay better if I have, if I keep these things,
Yes.
Let's that's great. I think we could talk for an hour about life and our failures and successes. It sounds like
that's just one. I've had many.
Yeah, it sounds like coming back to AA and leaning into the program, as you said, has been the solution for all of us with these things. So let's get into an important part of the show: the newcomer tip of the week.
Oh,
look at our newcomer.
I love it.
She's hugging that bottle
If you're
tight.
just on audio,
Lili,
you can't.
does that look familiar?
Oh,
the bottle hug.
She's not vomiting, so like you got to take it up a notch. But yes, that looks like me.
If you're just on audio and you can't see the video, there's a girl. She's holding. It looks like a bottle of champagne. Her eyes. I mean, she's drank most of the bottle. If that might not even
The
be her
champagne
first
was
bottle.
actually one of my last drinks.
Was it?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's
The
just
bottle hug that really sells it for me there.
For me, it's
Nobody
the
hugs
mouth.
the bottle like that unless
It's the
you're
mouth and the eyes. The way her like she's gonna say something, but it's gonna be like.
It's just impressive that the makeup isn't running.
There's no makeup run. I mean, that's probably So
It's early.
let's
early in the night.
Our tip is remember the last day you took a drink, get a sobriety date. So this is a simple one. I think we can go around real quick.
Yeah.
When I went to my first sort of set of meetings and people would always, when they would share, they would always say their sobriety date. And I was like, it would kind of piss me off because most of them sound like they were lying because they had a lot of time apparently. And I was like, this is BS right here. There's no way this is happening, And then when I was supposed to get a sobriety date, mine kept changing. And I was like, why do we got to do this? Like, why do you got to hear about my new sobriety date?
What was your nickname?
My nickname's 24. It was 24-hour John because I had a lot of different sobriety dates.
Mine was the Keep Coming Back Kid.
Oh my God, that's even cooler. Yeah. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
The
That's
Keep Coming Back Kid.
Yeah.
It's a little wordy,
Keep
but it's
coming
not
back,
bad.
kid.
That-
Is that
I
what they
kinda
say
like
to
it.
you?
Some people
California,
said,
keep coming back.
Hey, it's the Keep Coming Back Kid.
Yeah, there was another nickname, but I don't think it's appropriate for the podcast actually too. Afterwards.
Hey,
So point is if you're out there, you should get a sobriety date. It's nice to have that date as a starting point.
it's important.
It's important. Also helps us to know who's been sober. it's good. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy. I don't remember the last drink I took. It was a bit of a blur there before I was locked up for violating probation, but it was easy for me because my sobriety day is the day I got released.
From being incarcerated?
Being incarcerated, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it was, and I don't count, I was obviously sober. I mean, I was in for a while, so I was sober, but I don't count that time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I know other people that do, and that's fine.
Yeah. But for you?
But for me, I started my time when I had a sponsor.
Yeah.
That for me, that's me sober.
Yeah.
You know,
I like it.
not just dry.
Yeah. Lily, how about you?
I think I remember my last drink because, like, yeah, there was like it's
Always a little blurry.
Yeah, but so I was at a bowling alley and I was with my Al-Anon guy friend, whatever, and we got
Captive.
my captive, my hostage, and we got some beer. I think it was a Corona actually, and I just drank this one beer. Right, this is why I can't drink like one because it's horrible. I drank one beer and it unleashed like a depth of rage that I have only like once or twice ever felt since. And I just had this overwhelming feeling, this just hatred for everything and everyone, and a deep abiding knowledge that I was never going to be happy. Never, and we're at like a bowling alley. It's like such it was just like, it was just horrible, and I just felt, and I just knew, like, no matter how much I drank, no matter whether I was sober or dry or whatever, I was never going to be happy again.
Yeah.
Ever. And that it was just done for me, I didn't equate that with like, maybe I should get sober. I just was like at the pits where I was.
Sounds like despair.
Despair. It's a good word.
One of the four horsemen.
Yeah. Total despair.
I like that. I like that. And I think that's why for a lot of us, it's hard to stop drinking because we can't see any other way.
Yeah.
That is the only real solution. Mm-hmm. I've never even said this, but my last drink was 6 warm Budweisers, 16 ounce. They were warm and I was sick with the flu and I was drinking anyway. Because I was dying of alcoholism. And the only relief I got, even when I was sick, was drinking. And I never threw up, so I could drink with the flu and be fine. But
Smoking Newports too.
Always a pack a day.
The menthol kind of is a little coating there when you're sick.
It was like a Halls, like a Halls throat lot. Let me smoke a Newport here so I can
So disgusting.
clear my throat.
I love.
Look at Gabe
menthols.
judging.
Do you guys remember how? And this is we'll move on here after this. But do you remember the way that cigarettes tasted after you got sick? When you would smoke, it would have that weird taste for a couple days after you get really sick.
Did you smoke?
No?
I actually only started smoking when I got sober because I was
Yeah.
I didn't
A lot of people
smoke.
do
I
that.
didn't smoke actually. I just drank whatever. I don't know. I just never picked it up. But I started smoking when I got sober because I needed an in to talk to people.
There you go.
And people
It was
would
like
form
holding a
a
drink
smoking
at the
You can't be the only one. I'm sure there are other
smoking
people.
circle, and it gave me a reason to enter a smoking circle, ask someone for
I
a
hear
lighter.
that about
and smoke.
drinking coffee too. A lot of people.
That is the same.
It's like holding a drink at the bar.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
you
drink
got to
coffee
hold
before
something.
I came here either.
Yeah.
At all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm clinically addicted
You're
to coffee.
caffeine.
Did you quit smoking?
Yes,
You
I did
still
quit
smoke?
smoking.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I'll have like one cigarette a year maybe, or I'll reserve it for
I wish I
very
could do that.
difficult times in life where
I wish
things
I
are
could
really
do
tough.
that.
I just
I
give
wish.
myself one.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm so bad. If I smoked one, I'd be in Virginia buying cartons again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Loading
That's
up the
fair.
trunk.
Let's move on. We got a cool sketch this week. I am excited. Similar. So last week,
Segment.
a new so the segment of the week. All right.
segment.
All right. We've got a cool segment. Last week we did. I forget what was last week. What is the name of it last week? We had but two alternatives, and in that we basically picked a
miserable
reading,
disaster.
and you had to pick if it was from the A Big Book or the 12 Steps.
Okay,
to
that I could win.
Conditions.
That I could win.
I'm
Yes,
going
no
to show you the
question.
questions from last week then after the show.
Yeah.
But this week,
Yeah, let's quiz her.
let's get into our sketch of the week. Who wants to be a millionaire alcoholic?
Oh, that's a cool. That's a cool graphic. That's,
Yep,
that's
Chris
really
showing
good.
off his skills.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
just
good.
type
We
the word
are-
alcoholic.
Very good.
The way this is going to go is our guest Lili, our producer Gabe, and our co-host Chris are all going to have 5 questions they're going to answer. Each question will have 5 different multiple choice answers. Each question you get right, you'll get a point. And at the end of the 5 questions, whoever has the most points wins, and you get a AA postcard over there.
Oh, I thought it was a bumper sticker.
It's a postcard. What does it say? Hold up. It says one fucking day at a time.
I'm in it to win it.
So here we go. This is for the winner. And if you're online, if you're listening right now, you can play along too, because we're going to give out the answers. So why don't you guys pick up?
What about Lifeline?
Pick up your pens. We're going to probably pass on the Lifeline because that's going to get a little. I think that might be a little much to do for Gabe. Well, let's see. Let's see how you get. So the way this is going to go is I'm going to say one question. I'm going to say the question, and then we're going to give 5 answers, multiple choice. Are you down over there, Gabe? Oh, there we go.
Oh,
we're back up.
I think one of our cameras is down. Yep, we lost number 2.
Which is the all.
We lost 1 and 2.
Oh my gosh, that's not good.
No, I don't know if that's possible. The power is off.
Are you seeing anything there?
Let's put the slides up.
Yeah, throw up the slide. Number one. And this is probably this is the gimme right here, okay? This is the easy one. I gave everybody a gimme. Mm-hmm. Number 1. What year did Alcoholics Anonymous start?
I know this.
Are we all supposed to just?
You're gonna write down write down the yeah.
So I'm ready to like buzz.
That's right. No.
No. Okay.
1925, 1934, 1935, 1939, or 1945. So everybody's written down their answers. Let's go to number 2.
Number 2.
Make sure you're writing down your answers, everybody. Prior to starting AA, both co-founders were in contact with what fellowship? A, the Washingtonian movement. B, the sectarian group. C, the Liberty Society. 4, D, the Oxford group. And E, anti-alcohol prohibition.
I'm not feeling good about this.
Their answers. All right, let's go to number 3. Ooh, good one. Who was Henrietta Seiberling? So look, Henrietta Seiberling is she's.
Are you going to tell us?
At the end, I'm going to tell you. A, she was the first woman to get sober by joining AA. B, was the founder of the Hazelden Foundation. C, the daughter-in-law of the Goodyear Rubber Company founder. D, along with Carl Jung, spiritual advisor to Bill W. Or E, donated the Stepping Stones house to Bill W.
Oh my God. I mean, this is just a total guess.
I mean, is it?
I think I might know this one.
You should probably know it.
I think I know this one, actually.
I should.
If you know AA history.
I no one. I am not claiming I know.
Okay, well, write your guess down then, Chris, and don't worry, I'm going to tell you at the end. All right, let's move on to number 4. Who started the first AA meeting in Cleveland, Ohio? Abby G, Clarence S, Hank P, Bill D, or Fitz M? And I have actually been to this person's grave. So I'm hearing silence. I'm hearing a little bit of unsureness.
I don't know why I'm changing my answer as if like somehow deduced.
Yeah, they're all guesses anyway.
Yeah.
Which one feels better?
Right.
I've got like a soft guess.
Let's go to number 5. A star catcher for what baseball team achieved sobriety in Alcoholics Anonymous?
Come on.
A, the New York Yankees. B, the Boston Red Sox. C, the Philadelphia Phillies. D, the Cleveland Indians. Or E, the St. Louis Cardinals.
This is a guess. Total guess for me.
They were getting harder and harder as the questions go on. I didn't want to make them all laydowns.
Wow.
This is total guess.
This is like sports history. Like
It's
tough.
It's kind of AA history, but it is a little bit of sports history as well. All right.
What do we got?
This is how we're going to do this. We're going to go around. I'm going to ask you guys, just don't change your answers one by one. We're going to go around and I'll randomly select somebody to go first. For the first question, what year did Alcoholics Anonymous start? Lily, what was your answer?
C, 1935.
Gabe.
C, 1935.
Chris.
1935.
Ding, ding, ding. Everybody gets a point.
Nice.
That was the gimme. If you didn't get that one, I
It's
was
also
going to
our
be
password on Linktree.
It is our password
to watch the videos.
To watch the videos. So that was a little bit of a,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Number 2, the question is, prior to starting AA, both co-founders were in contact with what fellowship? Gabe, what was your answer?
D,
D.
Which was
the Oxford group.
D was Oxford group. Okay.
Oxford.
Oxford. Ding, ding, ding. We've got winners again.
This is where it goes off the rails right here.
So,
Yeah.
so for those online, the Oxford Group was a Christian organization that helped the formation of Alcoholics Anonymous, and is where a lot of the principles and the steps of AA have come from. So, number 3, this one's going to be a little interesting. Who was Henrietta Seiberling? Chris.
I put D. I don't even remember what it said. I just picked a letter.
D was along with Carl Jung, spiritual advisor, BW. Okay. Lily, what did you put?
I had C, the tires one, because I do know that it's in the mix.
Okay.
I can't quite remember how.
Gabe?
I also put C. I knew it was like a relative of someone. That's why.
If you put C, you would be correct.
Hell
She
yeah.
was the daughter-in-law of the Goodyear Rubber Company, and that's
That looks
Because
so.
his son,
I
I
almost
do know
picked
this
that.
because his son was
Yeah.
an alcoholic.
It's
and
such a strange thing to put. I
So
felt
here's
like
the
it
thing
could be
about
it.
Henry. Here's the thing is that it's an interesting part of her story, but she also was a member of the Oxford Group and a big part of AA getting started and introducing Bill and Bob. So there's many, facts about Henrietta, but the daughter-in-law of the Goodyear Rubber Company founder is an interesting one.
Yes.
So, all right, let's go to number 4. Who started the first AA meeting in Cleveland, Ohio? Let's start with Gabe.
I put D, Bill D.
You put Bill D. Okay, Chris.
Fitz.
Okay.
I put B,
Lily?
Clarence.
If you put B, Clarence, you were correct. Oh, Clarence.
I'm on my way to that bumper sticker.
It's done. I mean, I don't know what.
It's over. It's already over. You
ready.
win.
I'm
You
ready.
win.
I'm ready.
So if you don't know this, Clarence Snyder started the first AA group in Cleveland in 1939, in part because some Roman Catholic priests in Cleveland were refusing to let Catholics attend the Oxford group meeting in Akron. Here's another interesting fact about him. This was the first group to use the name Alcoholics Anonymous, and Clarence, thought by many and even himself, maybe didn't get enough credit for being such a big part of the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Strange an alcoholic would complain about that.
And
So weird.
You never know.
Oh my God.
The 5th question is an interesting one. And if you kind of, maybe if you were able to put 2 and 2 together, you'd be able to get the answer to this one. A star catcher for what baseball team achieved sobriety in Alcoholics Anonymous? Let's
Explain how you just put 2 and 2 together.
Well, I'll
and
say it
get that.
afterward. Chris, what did you get?
Cleveland.
You put Cleveland. Lily, what did you put?
I also put Cleveland.
You put Cleveland. Gabe,
Boston.
why did you put Cleveland, Chris?
Ohio.
Why did you put Cleveland? You just
don't know.
guessed.
I
You-
just
of course, this
literally
was your
guessed.
night. You got
I
all
just-
5 right because the answer is
Yeah.
Cleveland Indians.
I don't know. I felt it. It was my
and
sobriety
The reason is because Cleveland
me.
is in Ohio.
That
and that
does
was
make
what I
sense.
meant. If you could put 2 and 2 together, that Ohio is where Akron is, that maybe that was the right
Chris
answer.
is he's got it for me because I just sensed that maybe that
did
was the right
better
answer,
this
but
week.
I can't explain.
You did much better last week.
I
you
feel like
were
I'm
really
passing. I'm
bad.
3 out of 5. Is that like
Dude,
a
there's-
D? That's a
That's
D.
like it's like a B plus.
No.
There's got to be some catcher somewhere in Boston that there's got to be an alcoholic.
Let me just say this.
I got one.
I'm going to tell
right
you about the
last
guy.
week.
His name was Raleigh Hemsley. He was known for having a drinking problem once, which caused him to be kicked off 4 separate clubs. Hemsley would later attend AA meetings to help himself sober up. He revealed his membership to the press in 1940. 5 years after the founding of AA, becoming the first AA member to break his anonymity on a national level. Hemsley's anonymity break was one of the first developments to raise questions and concerns about personal anonymity in the organization. So little interesting tidbit there, I think, which is relevant today.
He laid the groundwork for
the meeting after the meeting, which is good. So there you have it. I believe Lili is our big winner with 5 out of 5.
It's a streak for all of our guests.
Pass that over here. Toss that over here. Chris,
Hell
can you reach that? Here is what Lili wins. Can we get it in number?
With
right
pride.
Look at that. One fucking day at a time.
I love
she can look, it's an actual postcard. Lili, you can send this to somebody if you really want to as a gift. Maybe you have a sponsee or somebody. No, you're going to hang it somewhere. You're going to keep it. There you go.
Keep it forever. Yeah.
Well, Lili, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome to get to know you better and hear some more of your story.
Thanks for making the drive.
That's totally fine. My pleasure. My pleasure.
What a great episode. We will be back again next week with another great guest. We're happy that you joined us tonight. This is the meeting after the meeting.